Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumpful Reads, and in this video, we're going to be covering my favorite books that I read in 2018 that were covering the life sciences. So basically anything related to like animals or the environment, nature, anything kind of like along those lines I included. And this was a genre that I really got into last year that I hadn't really read before. I read about 20-ish books kind of on those topics. So I'm really pleased with that. And I tons of really good works. Actually, it was actually fairly hard to narrow it down like at all. I have my top three, I guess. I'll go with them. And then I also have four honorable mentions because I figured, I had to include them because they were also just so good. It's just like compared to the other ones, it's just kind of a toss up, to be honest. So I have seven books I'm going to talk about. Like I said, got the top three. I'm just going to briefly mention the four honorable mentions. First one is Douglas Emlin's Animal Weapons, The Evolution of Battle, and it basically just kind of covers up why certain animals, how they have such crazy either defense mechanisms or offensive like weapons, like such as like the Hercules beetle with their giant like prong horn, things that weigh like just as much as like the rest of their body. Why some snakes have like super venomous poison for their size, stuff like that, and basically the conditions of how those things sort of came about. Right, the next one is a really popular book, and it's The Soul of an Octopus, A Surprising Exploration to the Wonders of Consciousness by Cy Montgomery. This really is a tremendous book. I even gave this one 5 stars too. It just, the other ones I felt kind of eked it out a little bit more. This is, though, everyone pretty much that I've ever seen review it has loved it. Basically, yeah, you just can't go wrong with this one. I'm just going to leave it at that. You should definitely go check it out. One that I listened to was, what's the subtitle? And it's Atlas of a Lost World by Craig Giles, but I gotta look for the subtitle. Travels in Ice Age America. I think I got this one on like an Audible daily deal or something like that. This one's really cool. It's kind of, it's like, I don't know how you want to explain. It does a lot of history over kind of the changing landscape of, North America during the Ice Ages and stuff. But he also has lots of like really cool vignettes of, like in Florida how there were tons of like mastodons and stuff, or he's visiting like a professional flint knapper, and how those indigenous peoples made the first peoples in North America made like their weapons, things like that. Thought it was really cool, just kind of like all over the place in the Ice Age. It was just cool like learning about the flora and fauna, the lifestyle of everything going on during that time. Highly recommend that one as well. And my last honorable mention is one that I read at the end of the year, and it's The Dragon Behind the Glass, A True Story of Power, Obsession, and the World's Most Coveted Fish by Emily Boyd. And this is like nature journalism where the author travels around Asia and kind of learning about and trying to discover like a wild arowana fish, which can sell for tens and 20s and hundreds of thousands of dollars. To like the right bidders. There's kind of like almost an underground culture, society, black market type thing going on with it as well. Just really cool. And there's also like infighting like at the academic level of trying to like name species after themselves or other people and get kind of the glory for like sort of that stuff. But anyways, just highly recommend this one, especially if you like nature journalism. All right, so now let's go on to the top 3 books in the life sciences that I read in 2018. Only one, actually. I don't know. Hold on. This one might have came out in 2018 as well. No, I lied. That's 2015. Not even close. Never mind. Alright, so let's go to the NetGalley book that I read, and it's The Truth About Animals. And this one has a really long subtitle, but you'll be glad that I mention it. Stone Sloths, Lovelorn Hippos, and Other Tales from the Wild Side of Wildlife. This is by Lucy Cook. This was just a fantastic read. If you kind of like Mary Roach, if you've ever read anything by her, this is kind of in like that similar vein where it's really quirky, like really funny, just tons of hilarious sort of anecdotes thrown throughout the entire book, but there's still a lot of hard science as well. And what she does is in each chapter, she takes a species of animal, whether that's eels or sloths or hippos or moose, which was obviously my favorite chapter, living in Maine and stuff. And she kind of goes over different things about why they're mysterious or why they're interesting, and basically false assumptions like we always used to have about them, and how it's changed over, our newer understanding of them based on like research and stuff. There's lots of like hilarious characters that make their appearance throughout the book. Though, let's see, the one that comes to mind is Georges Louis Leclerc, Comte de Buffon, who had like a giant like 30 or 27 or 37 volume History Naturelle or whatever, which was just full of pretty much at the time in the mid 1700s, pretty much all the information he was able to collect on animals all over the world and stuff. Of course, he didn't have first-hand experience with a lot of them, and a lot of the tales were sort of like second, third-hand knowledge and stuff, and some of the anecdotes are just like so ridiculous. But his descriptions are just hilarious, and just how wrong they were, I guess. And it's easy to kind of pick on him, but it also shows like how far we've come, but also how much we still don't really know about a lot of animals and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. And there's also like Lazzaro Spallanzini, doing his sort of his intentions were kind of okay, trying to like learn about the animal world and animal physiology and anatomy. Some of his experimentation was, it wouldn't even be questionable today. It probably was not even quite. It was kind of questionable back then, and that's like like I said, the 1700s. So, I will say there is like not animal abuse in the book, but descriptions of animal abuse like from like the 1700s. I guess if you look at it that way, just to be forewarned about that. But you also have like vignettes from like modern scientists that are trying to do stuff. Like, for example, there's wild feral hippos in Colombia because of like El Chapo's I can't remember. No, Escobar's Escobar had like a bunch of hippos in Colombia, and when his estate kind of just like fell like to the jungle, basically the encroachment of the jungle, some hippos got out. Now there's like a feral population of hippos, and there's like a program to sort of castrate the male hippos to kind of keep the population somewhat under control. Someone has to literally go out and castrate a hippo in the freaking like Amazon here. So like I said, there's tons of vignettes of like modern stuff. And then some of the stuff we learn about the animals, like a lot of myths get debunked and stuff, such as moose actually getting drunk on fermented apples and everything, which is kind of like, I've heard that like a very tiny bit where I live, but I guess in like Sweden and Russia, that's kind of a bigger myth, I suppose. And then, like, for example, there's just some images you can't get out of your head, such as the Tinder version for sloths, like how sloths use their own Tinder type thing. So yeah, you can't get that out of your head once it's in your head. So highly recommend this book if you like kind of quirky, funny learning about animals. I just highly recommend that one. Alright, next book is The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of a Lost World by Stephen Brisati. And this won the Goodreads Choice Award for Science, I believe. And it is a masterpiece by the Washington Post. I will say I agree with that. Just really well done. I was craving a book on the dinosaurs, and this just like hit the spot perfectly. It's got tons of information, lots of good photographs. Maybe not like lots, but lots of photographs in the book. We have Steve Brisati. He goes around the world doing all this cool like archaeology stuff, uncovering species and everything, but like learning about all the different locales. You learn everything there is to know. Well, I wouldn't say everything there is to know, but for like a popular science book, this does just about as good as a one-volume book can really do on the topics such as the dinosaurs. And he covers from the beginning of the dinosaur era through each period and era down to the Chicxulub impact and everything. And he also discusses sort of the different controversies, or maybe not controversies, but the different aspects of dinosaur science that have been questionable, and like the back and forth, such as like now we know that dinosaurs had kind of feathered type things like on their bodies and stuff, and it kind of deals a lot with the modern research going into that, whereas a lot of the older dinosaur books don't have that, since this is literally like the last like decade or so. So it is really cool learning about all that. And like I said, if you're really interested in the dinosaurs, this is just a really great book to pick up. Plus that cover illustration is pretty much awesome. And then for my favorite life science book of the year is, it's gonna seem kind of weird if you guys didn't see me talk about it like earlier, like in this last like summer, is A Naturalist Goes Fishing by James McClintock, and the subtitle is Casting in Fragile Waters from the Gulf of Mexico to New Zealand's South Island. I say Zealand because of like the island like out in the Baltic, the Zealand. But anyways, James McClintock is a world-renowned Antarctic scientist. That's what he primarily does, but he's also like an avid fisherman. And what this book does is each chapter he goes to a different locale, and he basically has like his sort of like fishing stories with like his buddies and stuff. But what he also does is he blends the fishing stories with science and like kind of the biology of like the fish species that he's trying to catch, and also the kind of the local environment and ecosystem that he's fishing in, along with conservationism with that area as well, or a broader picture, I guess, of that sort of type of region in the world. So I think just kind of the mishmash and blending of those three kind of like subgenres into one book was just spot on, excellent, and made it my favorite book of the year. And like I said, I picked this one up on a whim from Book Outlet, I think for $2 or $3 or something. Just like, yeah, I'll just like try like a kind of like a fishing book just to see. But I just thought this one was fantastic. And like I said, he has fishing from, like I said, New Zealand. He has chapters in Antarctica, out, like I said, in the Gulf of Mexico, out in the Midwest, stuff like that. All kinds of cool stuff going on. And like I said, if you even just like fishing, like fishing buddy story type things, there is some of that in there too as well. But like I said, there's a good ratio of the fishing stories to the conservationism and like the science of the fishing ecosystem that he's fishing in. And overall, I don't know, there's just something about it I just really enjoyed. I know it won't be for everyone, especially if you don't like fishing or fish or in general, you obviously won't like it, but I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. And I have his other book. He has one other book called Lost Antarctica, which deals with the changing climate and structure of Antarctica. I think I read the first chapter for like a readathon, and then I didn't get back to it, so I definitely need to finish that one. But yeah, like I said, A Natural Goes Fishing is my favorite life science book of 2018, even though it was published in 2015. But there you guys have it. If you guys have any recommendations for life science books, definitely leave some comments down below. I'm always on the lookout for good animal, nature, environment books. Just can't get enough of that stuff. Tell me what you guys think about any of these books. I'd be glad to talk to you about them. And always remember, whatever you end up reading, read victoriously.